patrons in the Melville area are holding a candlelight vigil in memory of those who lost their lives in the New Year's Eve shooting near the scene of the crime outside Poppies. 2 people died when a gunman opened fire in the early hours of the morning while people were innocently ushering in the new year. Some of the victims are still in ICU receiving treatment after the ordeal. Our reporter Michael Appel is covering this story for us. Michael, I do understand that we can expect a night vigil to be held at about 7 p.m. this evening. Can you tell us exactly what's to be happening and how the situation is currently there in Melville?
Well, Poppy's restaurant is closed. This after the owners of Poppy's restaurant decided that it would be best while the police investigation continues. And obviously in light of what transpired here very tragically on New Year's Eve and into New Year's Day. So just after New Year's Eve, for some viewers who may not know, we're told that there is an altercation that takes place. There is one of those involved in the altercation says that he's coming back, and that is when there is a drive-by in a black SUV. We're told it's a BMW X5. The police are busy chasing up any leads and looking at the CCTV video footage of that car that drove past. That footage has leaked to the media, and the gunman fires indiscriminately into the crowd, wounding 8 people, 2 fatally so, a woman in her 30s and another woman in her 40s. At the time, the eyewitnesses that I spoke to when I was here at 2 o'clock in the morning, just after the shooting, eyewitnesses saying that there was a lot of confusion at the time because, as is the case on New Year's Eve, there's a lot of fireworks that go off, people ringing in the new year, celebrating the crossover into 2020. So a lot of the bangs that they were hearing, people were used to it by then, and then all of a sudden certain pops being heard which didn't sound like fireworks, and that's when people started dropping to the pavement here behind me. And when we arrived at the scene, it was cordoned off, but we could see the 2 victims that were outside here. There were tables and chairs set up outside here. It was very festive, and obviously a lot of patrons inside also got shot. As you mentioned, some of them still in ICU, and I know that the acting Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Sufi, he's going to be visiting some of the victims from the Poppy's restaurant shooting who are at Helen Joseph, as well as not too far down the road there was another shooting that took place. About 11 people were shot. Also New Year's revelers ringing in the new year when a gunman or gunmen, we're not sure, opened fire from the M1 bridge into Mary Fitzgerald Square. So in not too big a square kilometer radius, 19 people were shot, 2 losing their lives over that New Year's Eve, New Year's Day period.
Michael, I must ask you this. Obviously investigations are still continuing, but from what has been determined, was it a case of just a random shootout where somebody, obviously there was an altercation situation, but it was not necessarily, can we rule out a possible hit on specifically those individuals that are now deceased?
Yes, this was not a shootout. This was somebody firing into the restaurant, nobody firing back. Eyewitnesses say that there was a fight. To use the words of the car guard who witnessed it, he said there were 3 colored gentlemen and 1 black patron who were involved in a fight, and one of the patrons said, "I am coming back," and that is when he left, and that is when the black SUV drove past. So this would appear to have been a fight that escalated into a drive-by shooting. I've heard a lot of banter about possible gang initiation and this being a hit. The people that were fired at and that died had absolutely nothing to do with that. This was indiscriminate shooting into a restaurant following an altercation. So anything around gangs or around this being a calculated hit, I think it would be irresponsible to carry on that narrative at this stage. Yes, the police are still continuing their investigations. I'm sure they are scouring the country for that black SUV at the moment. So any talk of this being a hit or any sort of gang-related incident, I think, needs to stop.
Michael Appel, we're going to leave it there for now. Just giving us the latest outside of Poppies in Melville, where that drive-by shooting incident happened in the early hours on New Year's. Well,